إلهنا ما أعدلك مليك كل من ملك لبيك قد لبيت لك لبيك إن الحمد لك إلهنا ما أعدلك مليك كل.
أولم يروا أنا جعلنا حرما آمنا ويتخطف الناس من حولهم وقال الله عز وجل ذلك من يعظم حرمات الله فهو خير له عند ربه. أما بعد, dear brothers, I believe mostly brothers today, it's because this is Ihram for men. Inshallah, we will go over what Ihram is. We will go over how we're practically going to wear it and enter into Ihram. And then we will just go over some technical rulings of Ihram. So it's not that complicated, it's very simple. And inshallah, let's get started. Okay, so first of all, what is Ihram? Just a basic idea of it. First of all, it is a necessary protocol for entering the kingdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a hadith, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says to the near meaning in Bukhari, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, since He created the skies and earth, He has chosen this place, which is Makkah, to have a special status, and it's a sanctuary of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So just like when you're going to visit a president, for example, you're not going to just enter. There's going to be many stages and many checkpoints that you will have to pass and fulfill the requirements and the protocols, and then you can enter into the kingdom of the king or the domain of the king. So similarly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was the greatest king. He has set certain protocols that we must fulfill before we're allowed to enter into Makkah. And that protocol is Ihram. Most of us know Ihram as a piece of white cloth or pieces of white cloth that we wear. That's actually the clothing of Ihram, but Ihram is actually a state of mind. Ihram is a state of mind and an intention. Just like when you enter into Salah, you're in a state, and once you enter, you cannot do many things become impermissible for you. Similarly, when you make the niyyah of Ihram, then many things become impermissible for you, because now you are going to visit Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you are in that state of Ihram. Included in that is also wearing the white clothing. Next is Ihram begins. These are just the two main points that have to be met, main criteria that has to be met in order for you to enter Ihram. This is the bare minimum a person must do. First is saying making niyyah in your heart, making the intention that I have now entered Ihram. And obviously in the months of Hajj, a person cannot make niyyah of Ihram before the months of Hajj, which is before Shawwal. But after the months of Hajj have entered and the person plans to go on Hajj, then you can make the niyyah that I am now in Ihram. And then also saying the talbiyah, labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, until the end. That's gonna allow you to enter into Ihram, and you'll be completely in Ihram. Okay, now let's just go, before getting into the technicalities, how we're gonna enter Ihram, or at least most of us. First of all, starting at home, before leaving even the house, we must start fulfilling what's going to be required in Ihram. For example, we're obviously going to take a shower, use as much as soap as you can, and shampoo and whatnot, because you're not going to be able to use it in Ihram. You're going to clip your nails, trim your mustache, remove any hair that's unwanted in your body from even before starting the journey, meaning like before even going to the airport. Then now wearing Ihram, when we're gonna be wearing Ihram at the stay that we will be stopping at before entering into before the last flight to Makkah, to Jeddah, or Yeah, so it's the ones who are wearing ihram is done before the miqat. So the people among us who are gonna enter into straight into Jeddah, they're gonna they must wear the ihram before uh before they land. So most of us in the stay where we stop, whichever country that is, so usually a Middle Eastern country, we're gonna wear our ihram at the airport. And can you go to the previous slide? Okay, no, the one after. I'm sorry. Miqat. Okay, yeah. So in the airport, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna make wudu. Preferably, you're supposed to take a shower, but practically speaking, that's not likely. So we'll make wudu. We'll apply perfume on the body. We'll remove all our stitched clothing. That includes even removing the underwear and any other stitched clothing, obviously our shirts and pants. And we will wear these two cloths of ihram. And by the way, these cloths are going to be given to us, inshallah, whenever we need them from the Al-Rajhi services. So you don't need to worry about that. You can probably bring a few extra if you want to change. Um, it's sometimes a good idea. You are allowed to change the ihram from one pair of ihram to another. Uh, so we will change in the airport. So you're going to see a lot of people in the airport with the ihrams on. And then one recommended thing to do is to read the 2 rak'ah and make the dua. Allahumma inna nas'aluka ridaka wal jannah wa na'udhu bika min sakhatika wan nar. This is what's recommended to do. Inshallah, we'll also be reminding you while we're traveling. The Murshideen will be reminding the Hujjaj the steps that they'll need to take. Right now is just a time for a quick rundown. And then after doing these things in the airport, so you'll make wudu, put perfume on your body, remove your stitched clothes, wear the two cloths, and pray the 2 rakats. And now you're not actually going to enter into the state of ihram. Remember, we said ihram is the niyyah and the talbiyah. So we'll not actually enter into the state of ihram. We'll be wearing our two cloths, but we will not enter into the state of ihram. So a person can still wear his cap if he wants. Then when we go into the plane, they're actually going to announce that we're getting close to the boundaries of Makkah, which is called miqat. We're getting close, so everyone make the intention. So inshallah, at that point, when they make the announcement, inshallah, we will also make sure everyone is awake and knows that we're about to enter, and making sure we're going to remind them to make the niyyah of ihram. Then inshallah, we are going to then say the talbiyah and make intention that I am putting myself into ihram. Okay, next slide. So at the miqat, which will be in the plane, we will do the last three steps, the niyyah and the dua, which is recommended, and the talbiyah, which is necessary. And also, if you're going to, okay, this is going to be for most of the people. However, if you're going from Medina, or you're going to land in Medina first, and you're going to visit the grave of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam first, then you are not obviously going to put on ihram in the plane, because ihram is specifically for Makkah. Ihram is not from Medina. So when you land in Medina, you're gonna perform the rituals in Medina, and then at the time for Hajj, you're gonna travel to Mecca, and on your travel to Mecca, you will be performing all these steps. It's not going to be as complicated because you're not going to be on the plane. They're actually going to stop at a masjid right before the boundary, and you're going to perform all these actions over there, and inshallah there'll be people to remind you the steps as well over there. It's quite simple actually. It's just wearing the two garments, taking off everything that you're not allowed to wear, and then the dua in a nutshell. And then over here it says if you are flying directly to Jeddah, enter ihram before the announcement on the plane. Yeah, we already talked about that. If you have a stopover, you may enter ihram from that city. Yeah, so if you're flying directly from Jeddah, I gave the example of what most people are going to be doing is taking a layover in one of the Middle Eastern countries. But some people are flying direct, so they have two options. Either they can wear their two white cloths, the ihram garment, from their home or from their first airport, which is the like United States or whichever airport they're leaving from, and then in the plane they can make the niyyah. Or the other option is if they don't want to wear that white cloth, the white garments for too long, they can actually just wear normal clothing into the airplane and then change in the airplane, which is a little difficult. But that's an option as well. Just because you don't want to wear the two white garments for such a long flight. I hope that's making sense. So far, is it clear? Does anyone have any questions? I don't know if they're able to speak.
There are some questions, inshallah. We can just defer them to the end.
Okay, sure. Okay, next. Bismillah. Okay, now obviously, once you don the ihram, things become prohibited for you to do. First of all, it is strictly prohibited to indulge in any sexual intercourse, to kiss, embrace, or talk about sex in the presence of women. Basically, anything that leads towards intimacy between the wife and the husband is strictly prohibited. Next, it is prohibited to indulge in those acts which Allah Ta'ala has made unlawful. Obviously, this is anything that Allah has made it unlawful, you're not allowed to do anyway. But particularly in Hajj, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that فَلَا رَفَثَ وَلَا فُسُوقَ وَلَا جِدَالَ فِي الْحَجِّ, that you should not, especially fighting and saying things that make that may hurt someone. You should be extremely careful because now you are entering, you have dawned upon Ihram, and you should have this mindset that now I am going and presenting myself in the kingdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So even more so, we should abstain from doing any haram. And also some interesting, unique things. One of them is you are prohibited to hunt animals or help even guide anyone to hunt an animal, which most likely we will not be doing. But sometimes there's killing like small insects we're not allowed to do. The only thing you are allowed to kill is a harmful insect that can actually harm you physically. So you're not allowed to kill locusts because there's going to be a lot of locusts in Mecca. It's because they're not harmful. Even though they may be annoying, they're not harmful. Similarly, you're not allowed to kill lice. And if you do, you will have to pay the obligatory donation that we can talk about later, which is called dam. Okay, then also another thing that we must be careful of is we're not allowed to use any scented type of cream or anything on our body that will give a good smell. Perfume oil, or anything that has fragrance, whether on the body or on the clothes or in the food or even in the drink. Sometimes you're eating something really minty, you're not allowed to have anything that smells good. The concept over here is to present ourselves in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as really, really humble servants, and in a state that you don't care about anything else. We talked about this before, that you are in the state of love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you do not care about anything else. In one hadith, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, Al-Hajju, Al-Hajj wa-Thajj, Al-Thajju wal-Hajju, that Hajj itself is being disheveled and unkept. That is like the essence of Hajj, and you're expressing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala how much you love Him. So that is why you're not allowed to put on anything that's scented, perfumed. And one thing you should also watch out for is the towels. They give you these refreshing towels inside the plane, so you're not allowed to use those because they still usually have some type of perfume on it. Okay, next. And yeah, we should be very careful of not maybe peeling our skin around our nails or clipping our nails or hair, any part of the body. That's why we mentioned that we were going to do it before leaving the house. We should make sure to do all these things. Or if you're in Medina, you can do it in Medina. Next, it is prohibited for men to use stitched clothes. We all understand that. It is prohibited. As for the footwear, obviously slippers have stitches on it. You're not allowed to wear shoes. It is prohibited for men to wear footwear of any kind that will cover the central bone of the upper part of the feet. So you must basically wear flip-flops. If you're, this is in the Hanafi madhab. Yeah, so in the Hanafi madhab, you must even, in the Shafi'i madhab, only your ankles must be showing. So you can actually wear like slides. But in the Hanafi madhab, you can only wear flip-flops. Yeah, because the two top bones of your foot, if you notice you have two top bones on top of your foot, they must be exposed. So it is highly recommended that you get some expensive, comfortable slippers, or like expensive flip-flops, because yeah, you're gonna be walking in them a lot, and you do not want to harm yourself. And then men must not cover their heads and faces. Yeah, so you must take off your cap at that point. You cannot cover your head. You cannot cover your head for any reason, or your face. We'll get into the detail. Yeah, so you can actually use an umbrella, but we'll get into that after. Okay, do not cause harm to any Muslim, be it verbal or physical. This is very important, especially because things are going to be kind of rough over there. Some things might not be going according to how we like it and according to how we plan. So it's very, particularly in the state of Ihram, be extremely careful not to hurt anyone. Yeah, that's basically it. Things permissible in Ihram. It is permissible to use an umbrella or shadow of any object, such as a car roof, as long as it does not touch the head. So like we mentioned that we cannot cover our head, but you can use an umbrella. It might be a good idea to bring an umbrella. Next, it is permissible to put on a ring, a pair of glasses, a hearing aid, a wristwatch, and a belt or girdle, which protects one's money and documents. So there's no belt for Ihram, really, but if you're using it to kind of carry your items, then that is allowed. Like it says over here, a belt or a girdle. Most people will have that because you want to keep your documents and so on with you. So yeah, and also we'll even send videos of practical ways to put on Ihram, and even in the airport we will be assisting you on how to wear the Ihram. We could maybe even do a tutorial over there. But we'll definitely send really good videos, and you should definitely practice wearing the Ihram before you get to that point. Yeah, so you're allowed to wear a ring, a pair of glasses, and these small accessories. Next is, it is permissible to change one's garments and to wash them, as well as to wash one's hair and body without removing dirt by means of using soap. So you are allowed to wash yourself, you're allowed to take a shower, as long as you do not use any soap, anything that's scented, that smells good. Yeah, so you are allowed to, so you're allowed to wash yourself if you feel like, it's very hot or you're sweating a lot. So you are allowed to go take a rinse, but just be sure, because naturally we have the habit of taking some soap. So just make sure you don't do that. Same thing with toothpaste. You're allowed to use a miswak. Go to the next slide, please. It does not matter if some hair come off by themselves during washing without you intending it. So as long as you don't have any intention to pull it off, and you try your best not to, and it still falls off, then it's okay, inshallah. It is permissible to cover the body, including the feet, with a blanket, quilt, sleeping bag, and just do not cover the head or the face. So when you're sleeping, you're allowed to cover yourself with a blanket, or even get into the sleeping bag, even though the sleeping bag is stitched, but just don't put the blanket over your head or the face. It is permissible to use miswak to clean the teeth. Yeah, so you're not allowed to use toothpaste because it's scented, but you are allowed to use miswak. Next is, there's no harm in carrying something on the head. Yeah, so if you're carrying like a basket or something on your head, you can go ahead and do that because you're not actually wearing it. That's the main issue. All right. What have we done here?
Prepare for the transformative journey of a lifetime. Visit our website and follow us for more information.